Welcome to another Saints Rewind feature here on Radio Verulam's local football show. We've got another exciting season to talk about down at Clarence Park, which is the 2013-2014 season. And as always, we've got our stalwart in Mr. David Tavener. He knows every bit of detail statistically on St Albans City Football Club right back to 1908. We've also got the wonderful Jake Ellacott, who obviously is a regular on the local football show. He was also part of the St Albans media team. But we've got another wonderful guest for you as well. We have Ben Martin, who you will know, you regular Saints fans out there. He was obviously played a big part in that 2013-14 season. So we welcome Ben to the show. And what we're going to do, we're going to ask Ben for two of his memories through that season. We're also going to ask Jake, as a fan, his two memories of that season. And Dave, as always, is going to just remind Jake and Ben, no doubt, regarding them statistics and anything else that Dave wants to throw in there of that wonderful season down at the Saints. So buckle in, chaps. Let's start with Ben. Ben, welcome to the show. And first and foremost, a quick introduction on yourself and then your first memory of that 2013-14 season.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm obviously Ben Martin, St Albans player for 3 different stints, and yeah, it was a great season. It was a funny season really. It started off, we sort of bumped along really. I came in from Welling United, and we just won the Conference South. And we had a great team spirit over there, which was built up over sort of 3 or 4 years. And they went on to play full time in the conference. So I couldn't commit to playing full time football because obviously I worked and stuff as well. And I knew Jimmy. Jimmy worked with me, or has worked with me for probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. And we're obviously quite close as friends as well. And Jimmy spoke about putting a squad together for that season. I think he had maybe managed half a season before. I can't really remember, but it was his first full season, I think. And he mentioned some names to me like Paul Bastock, John Frendo, Sammy Corker, and Leigh Chappell. Some of the lads that were there, James Comley, Richie Graham. And it got me excited because I sort of went from Welling thinking that, I'd had that massive high, and then obviously having to leave and thinking, right, where am I going to go now? And then he asked me about a guy called Ram Marwa, who you obviously are all going to know. I think his words were, "Is he worth the money, Ben?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I think you'll see, Jimmy, that he will be," and he turned out to be. So I knew we had a very strong side, especially for that level on paper. Which leads me on really to my first memory. It's not a specific game or tie or anything. It was really the team dynamics and the changing room, which is so important in any successful side. It doesn't matter how good you are as individuals, or if the team dynamics aren't right, then it just doesn't work. So yeah, the first guy I'm going to talk about is James Comley. And Jimmy told me how good he was, and I'd heard how good he was, but he was a nightmare to manage. And I remember we played Barnet a pre-season friendly, and I think there was a lot of stuff going on around about Edgar Davids. I think he was the manager of Barnet at the time. And me and James had a massive row on the pitch, and I knew from that moment onwards he was going to be a pain in the backside, which he was, and I could see how good he was, and realised quite soon that we needed to get him on side, but it wasn't good. Definitely wasn't going to be easy. I don't think Comsey and Chaps, our left back, passed the ball to each other for about the first 3 months.
Brilliant.
It was a nightmare, but they were two very big characters, and they just clashed to start with, and it was something that later on sorted itself out, and obviously they're friends now to this day. But I used to text or phone Comsey after each game and see how he was and see what he thought and all this sort of stuff, and like I said, he was great off the pitch, but it was almost like on the pitch, he had bipolar. He was,
right.
Yeah, he was, he was just calm. That's the only way I can really describe him. But then we signed another lad. Jimmy signed another lad called Sam Corcoran in the summer, and Corker's, among all the, he had so much ability on the pitch. He was great for the changing room, and he was a massive influence. You know, he brought everyone together, and he always used to make light of bad situations, or when things got a bit frosty, or we'd had a defeat or anything. And he was a big part of getting James on side, especially on the pitch. And then, yeah, so that was Comsey. And then we had Bazza, who had all the experience in the world in non-league football, had won loads of things, and was just, he was almost like a bit of an actor on the pitch, Bazza. You know, he used to shout and scream and holler, and a lot of it was for show, but it worked, you know, and I had a great understanding with him. And
just on that point there, Ben, it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's really interesting. You've picked up as that one of your memorable moments is how that team synergized. And actually, you do need in a team, you do need a bit of friction, don't you? It can't be a perfect synchronized environment. You need somebody niggling a bit, but it's how you work together. And I just wonder on that, Dave, what's Ben's statistics for that season then? How did he go from a statistical point? Because the statistics I saw, Ben, is in height. Obviously, as a defender, this can work well. Oh, it can work against you. You're 6'7", is that right?
Yeah, 6'7", yeah. Wow. I could head it, but I just couldn't run very fast.
Right. So, Dave, what have you got for us?
Well, Ben's statistics on that season in the league, it's a 46 league game season. He played 30 games, 29 starts, and chipped in with 4 goals. He didn't like staying on the pitch too long, got sent off twice, got booked 5 times. But unfortunately with Ben, he suffered with injuries throughout his career, and he missed the whole of our promotion season 2005-06. So this season, I think we'll resonate with him a bit more because he was part of this promotion winning team. As he said, though, City didn't really fire early on. We were just very good at grinding out results under Jimmy Graham Gold. It's really towards the end of the season when we came alive. He's mentioned some of the big players there. John Frendo up front, chipped in with 30 goals in 41 league games. James Comley, hugely influential. Paul Bastock, well, you can't say Paul Bastock without saying legend, whether it's St Albans City or Boston United. But one of the players he hasn't mentioned yet, which I think deserves credit, was David Keenley's side. He used the ball so well in midfield. He could just open up defences like Sam Corcoran could when he joined the club in February. And David Keenley's side, I wish we could have had him longer. He could have been such a good player at that level.
Well, let's bring Jake in at this point. Jake, welcome back to the show, and give us one of your 2 memorable moments for that 2013-2014 season for the Saints.
One of mine is actually towards the end of the season, like those games that sort of the Saints sort of start to explode into life, is actually a 5-1 win away at Banbury United.
5-2, Jake, get it right.
5-2, sorry. Right towards the end of the season. I don't think Ben played, sadly, but the Saints, watching the highlights back on Dave's YouTube channel, we just played some brilliant stuff that day. We tore them apart. It was unbelievable. And towards the end of that season, I know we had a few tight games trying to sneak into the playoffs, but some games we really did just sort of, just cause chaos for defences. And I know we did in the playoffs as well. But that Banbury game really stands out when towards the end of the season, I thought we've really got a chance here of getting up via the playoffs. And it was a really great day out in the middle of nowhere. And the Saints just caused absolute chaos, and it was brilliant to see them playing such good football.
Well, Banbury won. They won their previous game, Jake. They beat Weymouth away, which was one heck of a big surprise because in their 13 games leading up to that, they collected just 1 point. So we didn't make them at a bad time.
Weymouth, who are they?
Tough team. Ben, back to yourself then. What's your second memorable moment of that 2013-14 season?
Well, yeah, Dave sort of nicked one off me. Really, it was apart from the playoffs, it was Mr. Keeney side. But yeah, we got to the playoffs, and it just all seemed to click. All the sort of, like I say, the team dynamics and everything. We all just came together for that semi-final, and we got such a good start. I don't know whether it was Frendo or Wales he scored first, but we were 2 up inside 15 minutes maybe. And then they got a good goal back before half time. Then I scored just after half time. And then
what type of goal was it, Ben?
What do you think?
It's got to be a header, right?
It was a long Leigh Chapel throw, and head on a stick.
Love it.
And then Sammy Cork scored a brilliant solo goal, which then took us on to the final. And the final it's probably the best game I've played in. Not best game that I've played, but just it gives me goosebumps now. Just remembering hearing the crowd outside the ground while we were warming up and walking out, and it was just, I don't know, it was just, it was a great day. We started really badly, but it was a great day. And then the moment of the game for me was when Dave King's side picked up the ball in the middle of the park, and he played this ball through to Steve Wales. And Wales had just joined from Chesham about 3 months before. So he really had the bit between his teeth as well, obviously playing against them. And Dave played this ball through, and it was just, I've watched it over and over again on YouTube afterwards. It was something else. And it was just a really, really good day, one I'll never forget.
Come on then, Dave, you've got some more supporting evidence to talk about Ben's memorable moment there.
Well, that was incredible that day at Chesham. The crowd was 2,960 odds. Kickoff was delayed. While we were waiting for the delayed kickoff, I went back outside the ground to have a look, and the crowd was just snaking down the long driveway up to the ground there at the meadow. Weather was great. It was just a fantastic day, and I think, if I remember rightly, we even let Chesham have the pleasure of scoring the first goal.
We did, yeah. It was like a home game that day, wasn't it? Although it was at Chesham, it really was like a home game. All the Saints fans were there, and they were the only ones singing, really. And it was just, It's
funny, because attendances weren't great during the season, Ben. But that day, out of almost 3,000, we had at least 1,800 there. And where they all come from, goodness knows.
I know. Well, but it's like that in a lot of the FA Cup games days, isn't it? Whenever we've got into the first round proper, we've almost filled the park. So they're all there. They're all there somewhere.
Absolutely. Maybe they're looking for a return, Ben, right? Just to come down and see you supporting that Saints defence 7-8 years later. So, Jake, moving into your second memorable moment of that 2013-14 season.
Well, just on the playoffs, that Cambridge City game, I was not hopeful at all, but I was just disbelief watching the first half. Like, I can't believe we're playing so well. So that was unbelievable for me. But my second memory is actually the FA Cup, and it's not the obvious Mansfield Town game at home. It is Chatham away in the fourth qualifying round. A really tough place to go. And I mean, it was the first time that I'd seen the Saints win a game to get through to the first round as a fan, and it was just unbelievable to see the celebrations at the end. And I almost didn't believe it. That whole season, it felt like, wow, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep playing well. We're going to get to the first round. We're going to get to the playoffs. I couldn't believe we actually got through to the first round away at Chatham. And it was just a really fun, enjoyable day. And to especially set up a game against a Football League side, it was just brilliant.
Oh, fantastic, Jake. The FA Cup is still there for the fan, isn't it? And we all love it. And Dave, just on Jake's point there, I guess Ben was playing in that game, and did he play the full match?
Didn't play, I don't think.
No, he didn't play at Chatham.
Or Mansfield.
No. So we kept a clean sheet without you against Chatham. But it's that Mansfield, though. We're 1-0 up on 8 minutes. Darren Locke scored with a great header. I like Locke. He's great bloke. Yeah. And we were still leading after 43 minutes, Graham. And we were playing well. We were comfortably holding our own. But then they scored twice in a minute. And they ran right in the last 20 minutes of the second half as we tired. And it got a bit embarrassing towards the end. It was 8-1. But even so, it's still a great day. The crowd was almost 3,500. Again, they came out in force. Fantastic. Chatham was difficult. They played really well early on, and they got a lot of dangerous crosses into the box, but we weathered the storm, came through it, and John Frendo again and David King's side got the important goals.
Fantastic.
Just going to that Mansfield game, we should have actually gone 2-0 up, I think, just before half-time, and then they scored 2 quick goals, and then there was a guy for them called Sam Klukas. He's gone on to play for Hull, and
City,
I think he scored 4 or 5 in the last sort of 15 minutes, which was a real blow for the lads because they worked so hard. But that's when the full-time football shines through over the non-league football, unfortunately.
Great point, Ben.
Yeah,
and Jake,
4 goals in 16 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah,
no, that's okay. That's okay. And Jake, I was just thinking there, obviously, from them 2 memorable moments. What sticks out for you when you watched Ben that season? What was the moment, good or bad, fun or horrendous? What stuck out for you, Jake, when something that was very memorable from a Ben Martin perspective?
I'm going to be kind, and I will say the goal in the playoffs. You know, to see him score, I thought, well, we're really lucky's on our side. We are going to do it if Ben's scoring. But you know, Ben all season, when he did play, when he didn't have those injury issues, he wasn't suspended. He really was commanding at the back. And you know, we talk about Paul Bastock legends, etc. You know, Ben's a legend down at Clarence Park. He's been through the clubs, you know, 3 different spells, and every time he's done so much for us, and he's always played with such passion and pride. And I think a lot of Saints supporters were delighted to see him get a promotion with the Saints. Like as Dave said, when he missed out on the promotion to the conference, I think, you know, Ben, he's still such a popular figure with Saints fans, and I think he'll always be so warmly welcomed down with Saints fans, either at Clarence Park or in the pub.
That's wonderful, and I like you getting the pub in there, Jake. Hopefully, more visits to that in the future going forward. But Ben, just quickly, from your perspective, then, who was your most favoured defensive partner? Obviously, you would have had a few through that season. What stuck out for you and why?
Well, it'd have to be Lockie because one, he's just, if you know Lockie, he's a great lad, and he was a sort of the same sort of defender as me. He was kind of no nonsense, wasn't particularly pretty on the eye, but yeah, and then like I said, I go back to the playoffs, and I partnered Lockie in the semi-final and the final, and it was great for him as well. You know, I'd experienced sort of some title wins and some playoff victories and stuff, but he hadn't. And yeah, he was great. And then we also brought in Tom Ward. I think it was Cambridge away, Dave. I think is that right? Where we brought Wardy in, and Wardy's gone on to be really good in the Conference North for Boston and Grantham, I think. And he was a great lad as well. He had the pace that me and Lockie didn't. But yeah, it'd have to be Darren Lock, and we still get on really well now, me and Lockie. So yeah.
Thanks, Ben. And Dave?
The stats on Ben Graham: 277 appearances in total, 23 goals. And I'll come back to those in a second. 39 bookings and 7 red cards. That's obviously refereeing, isn't it? 23 goals. He scored a hat trick once at home to Bromley, I think it was, but we lost 5-4. Remember it, Ben?
I know. Yeah, very well. I think we were 3-0 down actually, Dave, and then I'd scored 3 to get us back to 3-0, and we conceded about 2 minutes after I'd equalised. And it was funny because in the changing room afterwards, Steve was going mad at Steve Castle, manager at the time, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, hold on a minute here.
I just scored a hat trick.
Just scored a hat trick. But yeah, you just keep quiet when you lose. So,
and Ben, was it the perfect hat trick?
It was definitely one header and one. No, I think it was 2 headers and 1 right foot. Yeah, so
not far off.
Not far off. At least it wasn't just 3 headers, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And Jake, do you remember that game?
I don't, but I do have a quick question for Ben, actually. What was it like playing in front of Paul Bastock? I've always wondered, you know, we could hear him from the terraces. What is it actually like being in a team with him?
Oh, Baz is great. I love Bazza. I mean, first of all, as sort of a younger player, you're you can be a little bit sort of put off by him, or sort of worried about how he is. But like I said before, a lot of the stuff with Bazza was a bit of an act on the pitch, and it was, a lot of it was to put off opponents. But no, he was great because he always kept you focused and ready, and again, just a great lad off the pitch as well. We still play golf when we can together and keep in touch, and it's been great for him to see him go on, and he collected, I think, an award at the PFA a couple of years ago. But yeah, he's a great guy, and he'd been through everything. He was 40 odd, I think, when he was playing with the Saints the last time, and you just learn from people like that.
Wonderful.
Which filtered through definitely to a lot of the younger lads. So
fantastic to hear. And Dave, let's go back to your statistics. You mentioned there, Ben, 7 red cards in his 240 plus games for the Saints. Which one of those 7 red cards stood out for you, Dave, and why?
That is not a fair question, Graham. 277 games, by the way.
Right. Thank you.
I don't know off the top of my head. I can't. There's too many of them. That's the trouble.
Go on, Ben. Help him out. Which one was the worst?
Do you know what? Honestly, I can't even remember.
I remember one, actually. We played away to Oxy Jets in the Hart Senior Cup, and Colin Lippiat was manager at the time, but he couldn't make it that day. So Nick Roddis, his assistant, stood in, and I think he sent players out with something like the message of just keep calm. We weren't bothered about losing the game because we had more important things on our minds, but don't anybody get into trouble or anything. When Nick got sent off in no time at all, and then
yeah, I remember that.
Sent off the handball on the goal line, didn't you, Ben? So
yeah, no, I think that was Nick. Was that Nick? Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, it was one of us, but yeah, we got under strict instructions to behave basically, and yeah, there was. I think the captain and the assistant manager both got sent off, so we didn't get down to that.
And finally, then, Jake, just another quick question to put you on the spot is, what's your memorable performance from Ben down at the Saints?
Oh, that is hard. I would.
So many, Jake.
Yeah, an unbelievable amount. But I would actually go with the Chesham game, the playoff final. Sure, we conceded early on, but Chesham were a really good team that season. And we, after that opening salvo from them, we really did restrict them chances-wise. The only other chance I think they had towards the end was, I think, Leigh Chappell clearing off the line, I think, around half-time. But otherwise, it was almost a procession for the Saints. Once we got it back to 1-1, I was confident we were going to win. And to be honest, I think that a lot of that was actually the defensive performance from Ben and the whole back line, because Chesham just didn't bother us. And I thought that was one of the best performances I've seen in a Saints shirt from everyone in that team on the day.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jake. And Dave, finally, to wrap up, your thoughts on that 2013-14 season?
It's almost like Ben and I said at the start. We weren't on fire. We did have some big scoring games, but we weren't on fire all the way through. We ground out results. But when you look at the players we got, we mentioned them already: Bastock, Corcoran, Ben, of course, himself, and John Frendo knocking in the goals, and James Comley. You had so many quality players in there. You should get promotion, really. But that said, we finished 7 points behind Chesham in the table.
Interesting. Thanks, Dave. And Ben, final thoughts from yourself on that season?
Like Dave just mentioned, yeah, we started off so indifferent, and I think the best thing for me was the way the lads came together. I think it was a bit sort of uneasy at the start, and by the end, obviously it helps because you've got promoted and you've played 2 brilliant games to win to get promotion. But we were a proper team, and the team spirit was brilliant after the playoffs. So that was my main memory, I think, looking back.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ben. Well, listen, Ben, it's been a pleasure having you on Radio Verulam's local football show. We hope to have you back another time. And that's basically Saints Rewind for the 2013-14 season. And I've certainly learned that you could obviously be involved in a lot more seasons for the Saints. So absolutely pleasure having you join us. And as always, Dave, thank you. And Jake, thank you. And we'll catch up soon.
Thanks, Graham.
Thanks for having me. Cheers, Graham.